Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the RYA's hybrid AGM. I hope you had reasonable transport and were able to get here without too much difficulty. Thank you for joining us today, whether in person or virtually. It is now my pleasure to hand over to the RYA President, Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, who will formally open and chair today's meeting.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very hugely impressed by so many of you getting here today. Or just as well it wasn't yesterday in that sense, but excellent. And much appreciate the presence of those online as well. So the notice convening this meeting was printed on page 4 of the annual report and accounts for the year ended 31st of March 2022 and can be taken as read. So I would now like to call the meeting to order and invite Sarah Sutcliffe, Chief Executive, to brief attendees on procedure.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I please request that all personal members and those representing affiliated clubs and classes raise their coloured slips? Great. Thank you. I can confirm that with the addition of those who nominated the chair of the meeting to be their representative online, the meeting is quorate. Before we run through the agenda, I would like to remind those attending online that questions can be submitted by emailing agm@rya.org.uk, but due to timing constraints, these will be responded to after the AGM. This hybrid AGM is a relatively new experience for most of us, but this is your association and your AGM, and I'd like to thank our members for their questions ahead of this meeting and for your advanced voting. Participants are advised that the meeting is being broadcast live and that a recording will be available via the RYA website and the RYA YouTube channel. Members were able to vote online from the 21st of October to the 10th of November. All votes have been counted by UK Engage, the independent verifiers, and I will announce the results of the voting for each motion as the AGM proceeds. As we move through the resolutions, if you wish to speak, please hold up your hand and wait for a member of staff to bring you a microphone. If you are a personal member, please state your name clearly before asking your question. And please state the name of your club or class association if you are representing an affiliate. Those present in the theatre today who are eligible to vote but have not taken the opportunity to do so online have been given papers to hold up for the purposes of voting.
Thank you. So item 1 is to approve the minutes of the 2021 AGM, which were circulated in the spring 2022 edition of the RYA magazine. No formal motion to adopt the minutes is required, but this is an opportunity for anyone to ask a question. And if anyone wishes to do so, I hope you will state your name or your club or class association clearly so that even I can hear. Firstly, I'd like to ask if any members present in the theatre would like to ask a question. Very good. So if there are no questions, you have to be quick because I may not notice. Can I ask Sarah Sutcliffe to give details and the results of the voting?
Thank you, ma'am. Before doing so, for any members who are present in the theatre who are eligible to vote, if they could please raise their coloured paper. Fantastic. I can report that over 99% of members voted to approve the minutes. So Royal Highness, who chaired last year's meeting, will therefore sign the official copy of the minutes. Please.
Very good, thank you. Now, item 2, I would like to ask the RYA chair to give his formal report.
Thank you, ma'am. As chair of your association, I am pleased to report on a year of progress for the RYA. We are short of time today, so my address will be brief. I would nevertheless like to highlight a number of factors which have contributed to this success. Firstly, and most importantly, the staff rose to the challenges of the extra workload as the sport successfully came through the later stages of the COVID pandemic. At the same time as coping with the stresses from a difficult digital project, as well as other internal and external factors. Secondly, the management team has been restructured, principally with Sarah's leadership since January and other key appointments. Sarah will comment on these in her address and also on the strategy project currently underway. This is key to position the RYA to be adaptable and fit for the challenges which we will undoubtedly face in a challenging economic environment and a changing society. Dave will also comment on our financial position, which is strong and significantly better than we feared during the pandemic. I would also like to thank all our members and volunteers who contribute to making our sport accessible, enjoyable, and safe for all participants, and our stakeholders and partners such as UK Sport, Sport England, the RNLI, and British Marine for their support and cooperation. It would be remiss of me not to mention and thank the board, and particularly Christophe Boulanger, who steps down as Senior Independent Director, for their support and commitment. And also Ian Walker, who as Director of Racing contributed inspiring leadership to our successful Olympic team last year, and who we wish every success in his new career. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge and thank Her Royal Highness, who in a year of many duties and demands on her time, took the time to visit and support our clubs, give much appreciated recognition to our members. Thank you, ma'am. That concludes my address.
Pleasure. Thank you, Chairman. So moving on from Chairman's address, can I ask the CEO, Sarah Sutcliffe, to give a formal report?
Thank you, ma'am. It's my pleasure to be presenting my first report to the AGM as the RYA's Chief Executive Officer. I took up post in mid-January, and it has, quite frankly, been a wonderful first 9 months. I'd like to record my thanks to Dave Strain for carrying out the role of Interim Chief Executive and for his steadfast support to me as I've taken up the position. Whilst I'm not from a sailing family as such, I've always embraced every opportunity that has come my way to enjoy being on the water, from school trips to corporate days, from cruising around Anglesey to regular family sailing holidays further afield, and joining some friends on day trips up and down the Thames. My children are halfway through their RYA onboard stages, although one child is keener to take up windsurfing than dinghy sailing. All of this gives me breadth and insight without being immersed into a particular part of boating. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Chair and the Board, the staff, the members, the volunteers up and down the country, including the home countries, and our numerous stakeholders for making me feel so very welcome. During this year, we have welcomed 2 new members to the senior management team. Sarah Marshall joined us as the new Director of Marketing and Insight, and more recently, Nick Scott joined as the Director of Racing. Ian Walker left us in the summer, and we wish him good luck in his new role. His departure led to some realignment within the racing department, with Mark Robinson stepping up from Olympic Manager to Performance Director in charge of the British sailing team, and Nick joining as Director of Racing to focus on racing services, domestic racing programmes, and the youth and junior pathway. The senior management team has a healthy blend of new and old, and the strategy development process this year has provided us with plenty of time together to form a strong and dynamic team. The RYA's heritage and history is something we should all be very proud of. The success of the British sailing team in particular over the last couple of decades is unsurpassed. More and more people are getting on the water and enjoying the benefits of boating. However, we must not stand still. We must not take any of that for granted. Yes, we have the benefit of being an island nation surrounded by water, but we know there are challenges in making boating accessible to all. The board approved a transitional strategy to address the impact of the pandemic and rolled it forward for a further year until the end of March 2023. With the pandemic still affecting the nation and new leadership at the RYA, it gave additional time to undertake the strategy development process. We have embarked on a wide-ranging consultation with our members and volunteer structure through the policy forming committees, the English regions, our home country colleagues, the board and the staff. This process has taken us on a journey. We are rediscovering what is special about the RYA, what it stands for, and importantly, the role it plays in ensuring the sector is fit for purpose going forward. It is a difficult balance all leaders face. How to preserve the past, manage the present, and all the time be working out how to set sail for the future. The process of discovery has led us to confirm that the vast majority of what we do remains relevant, but there is more we can do to address some of the challenges that exist, especially around inclusion and sustainability. We must make sure we are supporting the network of affiliated clubs and classes and recognised training centres to recover from the pandemic and be ready to address the current cost of living crisis. The RYA is very reliant on the army of volunteers and committed individuals who are the heart of sailing and other activities. We must support, recognise and celebrate them and all they do, like we are doing here today with the presentation of the Volunteer Awards. Congratulations to you all and thank you for your contributions. We have an exciting opportunity and a need to embed imperative agendas such as inclusion, safeguarding, safety and well-being in everything we do. We need to model the right behaviours and ensure our partners, our clubs, our training centres and our members follow suit. We need to be bold and become fully digitally enabled as we go into the future. We need to embrace our changing society. We need to work in partnership and be a good partner to others. We need to uphold the highest standards of governance. We need to be relevant to you, our members, and those who are our future participants and members. Early in 2023, the RYA will launch its new strategy, which sets out a vision of a connected, inspired, and inclusive community on the water. It is an exciting time for the RYA and for you, the members, and I look forward to sharing the future journey with you. Thank you, ma'am. That concludes my address.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's always quite a busy start, isn't it, from that perspective, so much appreciated. And as you mentioned, quite a few changes on the way. To get back to the harder side of this AGM, can I invite David Cox from Hayes McIntyre, please, to give the auditor's report.
Thank you, ma'am. The harder side, okay, thank you. I'm pleased to report that we issued a clean audit report this year. So with your permission, ma'am, I will just read the opinion section of my audit report. Otherwise, it's 2 pages long.
Yeah, no.
So thank you. So in our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the state of the company's affairs as at the 31st of March 2022 and of its surplus for the year then ended, have been properly prepared in accordance with United Kingdom generally accepted accounting practice and have been prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Companies Act 2006. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So can I now ask David Strain, as Finance Director, to report on the annual accounts of the year ended 31st of March 2022.
Thank you, Anne. Morning again, everybody. As Chris has already mentioned, it's difficult to think about the 21-22 financial year without considering the tail end of the pandemic. COVID-19 had a dramatic impact on our staff, our finances, as well as our affiliated clubs and classes, our recognised training centres and our personal members. The pandemic and related restrictions led to many changes within the RYA, from improvements to online learning, virtual centre inspections and home working. Over the course of the year, our income has returned to pre-pandemic levels and many of our clubs and centres found themselves at capacity as demand for on-the-water activity grew. Income from memberships, training and publications exceeded our forecasts by some margins, and as a result, the initial deficit that we had forecast became a surplus. SRC and ICC, or short-range certificates for using a VHF radio, and the International Certificate for Competence, and sales of RYA books and items supporting our training schemes performed exceptionally well. We continue to invest in the online and digital space, in our sustainability objectives, particularly around our facilities, and into our people. Our reserves grew by £750,000 this year as we returned to an operating surplus. The value of our investment property grew, and our final salary pension scheme moved into surplus. Since the year end, it is worth noting that unlike some other pension schemes, the pension scheme has benefited from some of the recent turmoil seen in the financial markets. There is also a contingent asset noted within the accounts. I can confirm that since the accounts were signed, the association has received almost £500,000 in respect of our business interruption insurance claim, and there remains the possibility that this figure will be increased. Despite a significant deficit in the prior year, careful past planning meant that we began the year in a strong financial position, and our outturn and post-balance sheet events mean the RYA balance sheet remains incredibly strong. Once again, over the course of the year, we maintained cash levels in excess of £4 million. Total members' funds were over £7.5 million at the end of the financial year. Your board now feel we are in a fantastic position to make the most of the opportunities that we can currently see for sailing and boating, to enable us to create momentum as we seek opportunities to develop our sport for the future. We have many challenges ahead as we seek to set our strategic direction for the next 10 years. And with worldwide and domestic political and economic instability in some respects, the future is uncertain. But with a strong and stable board and a refreshed leadership team, as well as your continued support, we look forward to grasping the opportunities that lay ahead. Thank you. That concludes my report. No questions on the accounts were submitted by members in advance, so I'll turn to the floor for questions. No, if there aren't any questions, we can move on. In that case, ma'am, I would like to propose that the report and accounts be adopted.
Thank you very much. So may I ask for a seconder from the floor, please, who will clearly state their name? She hopes. May I have a seconder from the floor? Thank you. So members present in the theatre who are eligible to vote, could they please cast their vote in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Very good. Well,
Thank you. I can therefore report that over 99% of members have voted in favour of the motion. So the accounts for 2021-2022 are therefore formally approved. Thank you.
thank you very much. Moving on to item 3.
There is only one candidate for President, Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, and Her Royal Highness has expressed her willingness to continue to serve in office. I would therefore like to propose that the motion to be adopted and would ask for a seconder from the floor who should clearly state their name.
Joseph Wright.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite those members present in the theatre who are eligible to vote to cast their vote in favour and then against by holding up their coloured paper. So let's go for in favour. And is there anyone against? Great, thank you. I can report that over 98%, 98% of members voted 98% in favour of Her Royal Highness's reappointment as President. I'm therefore delighted to report the motion has been carried with acclaim.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for continuing to put up with me. It is your choice. I mean, I'm only too pleased to continue in this role, and I'm delighted to do so. But thank you for the confidence that you show in allowing me to do so. It's very much appreciated. So moving on to appoint the auditor the coming year and delegate the authority to the board to fix their remuneration. We need the proposer and seconder to come from the floor, please. So may I have a proposer?
David Thursfield.
Thank you very much indeed. And as seconder, please.
Jeremy Coleman.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And so therefore, may I invite the members in the theatre who are eligible to cast their vote in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And yet again, over 98% of members have voted in favour. Can therefore confirm that Hayes McIntyre LLP have been reappointed for the year 2022-2023 with remuneration to be decided by the board.
Thank you very much. Item 5 is to note new independent director. But firstly, can I thank board member Christophe Boulanger, who is retiring this year, for his service. It kind of marks the passage of time, how quickly these people, they seem to come and go, but it's very much appreciated. And I hope you've enjoyed being part of the RYA, and we hope that you will continue to be engaged in other areas. But we recognise the amount of time everybody spends, particularly Christophe in this instance. But may I also report that the board have identified a preferred candidate and will provide details of the nomination to the members in due course, as we were required to do. So, item 6. Now, that's a special business to consider. And if to pass the following resolutions. So please note the revised Articles of Association and Board Regulations, as well as the explanatory document which were sent to members in advance of the AGM. So firstly, the company's Articles of Association be altered so as to take the form of the Articles of Association and prefaced by an explanatory document signed by the chair, in substitution for and to the exclusion of any Articles of Association previously registered with the Registrar of Companies. So,
Thank you, Mark. Could I please invite members present in the theatre who are eligible to vote to cast their vote in favour first? I am actually going to properly count these ones because it's a special resolution. Right, I think that's 18 in the room,
there's a couple of here.
plus any votes against? Thank you. Therefore, combined with the 2,450 votes that were voted in favour online, it gives us 2,467 for, 72 against, and there were 253 abstentions. Therefore, the resolution has passed.
Okay. So I'll do that again. This one is for the company's board regulations be altered so as to take the form of the board regulations and prefaced by an explanatory document signed by the chair in substitution for and to the exclusion of any board regulations previously approved.
Great, thank you. And again, if I could ask members who wish to vote in favour to do so now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18, we've got 17. So again, combined with the 2,433 votes that were registered online, that gives us a total of 2,450. And were there any against? Okay, online, we had 86 votes against and 256 abstentions. So I can again confirm that the resolution has passed.
Thank you very much. No comment. Item 7, which is to note the award ceremony, will follow the AGM. I don't know whether the chair wishes to mention that.
Right, thank you, ma'am. I'm pleased to report this year we've been able to invite award recipients to celebrate together with us again here. And having considered all the nominations, and let me assure you there were an awful lot of nominations who we sadly had to say no to, the awards panel agreed to confer the following: 42 community awards, the Francis Elkin Award for services to RYA Sailability, the Honour Preston Award for services to inclusivity in boating, the RYA Family Award, and 3 national and 5 regional RYA awards, and 1 honorary life membership. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Item 8 is any other business. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, strictly speaking, there can be no other business, as any resolution requires 14 days notice, and without a resolution before the meeting, the debate is out of order. However, there is a long tradition of having this on the item, less long about mobile phones going off in there, which doesn't seem to be owned by anybody. Oh, yes, it is. This gives members a chance to air their views. Anything that cannot be dealt with at the time will be addressed after the meeting and will potentially be answered in a later issue of the RYA magazine. In that sense, I don't know whether there's any activity from the floor, but before getting to that stage, can I thank the retiring committee chair for his service, Mike Butterfield, who of course was chair of Cymru and Wales. New committee chair, and Wales in particular, it's a lot of effort, and during the pandemic I think that must have been quite a challenge, but hopefully he's recovered from the online and back to face-to-face. Actually, it takes more time, but might be more fun. Thank you, Mike Butterfield, for that. Any questions from the floor? Very good. I think that's no questions.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. We did, in fact, receive a number of questions in advance of the AGM today, some of which have already been answered by our staff, and none which are sort of directly relevant for me to read out, except perhaps one comment, which is more a comment than a question, but it's relevant to issues that have been raised in the past regarding perceived lack of guidance to affiliated clubs and classes from the RYA on specific complaints, or requests for the RYA to become directly involved in these, particularly on questions of equal opportunities. And as this is a very important and relevant matter, I think it would be appropriate to ask Sarah to comment on that.
Thank you, Chris. I mean, the RYA has a long-standing principle of not intervening in what are internal club matters between the club or a class or a training centre and its members. It will, however, always provide impartial advice as to how to run a process to deal with a dispute, and wherever possible provide the guidance and support to both sides to ensure that the dispute doesn't escalate to a point that it becomes even more damaging than a dispute can be. But these are very much internal club-related matters, but we are there to provide as much support as possible, but we have to do it in an impartial way, especially where we have a personal member and an affiliated club. We can't take sides. We are always considering, and we're undertaking an affiliation review, we are always considering how we might be able to help more, because we know that these disputes can be incredibly damaging. Not only time-consuming, but they're damaging to personal relationships, damaging to an ethos and a culture within a club or a class or a training centre. So we do want to help, but you will appreciate that we can't just steamroller in and become the arbiter of an internal club dispute. When it comes to matters of inclusion and equal opportunities, I think it's really important that we're really clear on the fact that the RYA strongly believes that access to voting must be for everybody. And so regardless of background or personal beliefs or any other defining character, and we've got to be strong about this, and we've got to be unapologetic about this, and our new strategy will very much have inclusion at its heart. We have a strategy that's already set out that we launched in 2021. We are reviewing that and working with Sport England, who are requiring all funded governing bodies to put in place updated action plans, not just strategies, and we'll be reporting on our progress against that. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to just really be really clear that inclusion and ensuring that voting is accessible and open to everybody is going to be a fundamental tenet. It already is, as we know, but it really will be a very strong message that we'll be setting out.
Thank you.
No questions, you've got
That's
otherwise
the
comments. Very good, thank you very much indeed. Well, in that case, it's up to me to say thank you for your attendance. As we know, AGMs have to be done, but we try and make them slightly more entertaining, and I hope you will stay for the next part. But your interest and attention to detail in terms of keeping up with the all that documentation that is now required is appreciated. It's one of the values of travelling by train, isn't it? You can catch up. It's how I came to that. So thank you all very much indeed. And so that is the AGM closed.